Hey everybody, welcome back to FSU Off-Road. Today, it's time to turn this stock Dana 44 axle into something we can use underneath the race Jeep. Let's get to it. So, unlike the rear axle, whenever we were focused on the pinion angle, the front axle is a little bit different just because you have a steering component. So the first thing we're going to work on is getting the caster angle the way we want it. And like the rear axle, we'll tack everything in place, make sure it fits under the Jeep before we do final weldment. Let's get to it. We got some issues here. I'm trying to get 38 3/4 of an inch from outside to outside, but on this side there's like roughly 1/4 of an inch gap, and if I could bend this a little bit more straight, I think it would allow me to be able to center the truss a little bit closer to center, because right now we're about the 1/8 of an inch off where it needs to be, and allow me to pick up, you know, roughly 1/4 of an inch from the outside, kind of bringing them into that 38 3/4 of an inch. After some brainstorming, some external suggestions and thoughts, kind of rednecked a press there, kind of my own press, and was able to actually get it bent. Been a little bit more than I needed to, but that'll be okay. It doesn't really change anything on the structural integrity. So I went ahead and tacked the truss in place. Go ahead and make sure everything's where I want it before we do a final weldment. Back in the garage today, working on our coil spring retainers. Well, actually the brackets themselves, going to be working on the retainers, and put the actual coil plate in, kind of like it's mocked up here. About it falling off the axle there, but we'll have to put that in place. Only issue is you won't be able to put a bolt or a nut or anything unless you put one on the back side here, so we'll have to weld on a little nut on the back side of that way we can have that there. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to go ahead and drill these out, the coil retainers slash bump stop tops that go inside the coil springs there. We're going to drill these out for a 1/2 inch bolt, and then we'll also do a retainer piece or a retainer clip for the actual coil spring itself on the bracket. Okay, so what we're doing now is we're going to put this little stub. I'm using fine thread just because of vibrations and everything. That way it'll be a little bit harder to pull out. And we'll tighten down a nut on this side. That way we can weld it down inside there. Kind of get it tight. Everything's square where we want it. We'll throw some tack welds on it, and then we'll weld it all up nice and pretty. Should be good to go. Now the next thing that we want to do, now that we got this top piece with the with the nut welded on the backside. We went ahead and cleaned off all the surfaces here. That way we can get a good tack weld. We want to put the coil spring in, and then we can get this lined up and then tack weld it on the inside, and then we'll weld it on the inside because there's not a whole lot of room on the outside from where the coil spring is. The other side, and get these things tacked in place. All right, we're working on these retainer bracket pieces here. Kind of made these in the time lapse that you saw there, but I don't know, still haven't figured it out. So until then, I'm going to drill my holes where I need them to be, and we can go from there. Alright guys, after some work, we were able to get it bent pretty good. It actually sits pretty flush with the coil spring now holding it down, and with the plate, therefore eliminating any kind of spacers that I thought I might have to use. Now that we got our brackets and everything tack welded, I think it's time that we get these plates tacked on there. Showing off your new shirt?
You like it?
Yeah.
You like it?
You're awfully white. You
wear it with jeans, blue jeans.
And now fashion with Taylor.
I like food. You like it?
It's pretty.
Don't touch it. You get it dirty.
I'll get it real dirty. As the garage turns. But anyways, like I said, I think it's time for us to get these coil spring buckets and the shock brackets tack welded to the axle. We're trying to do a raised bracket system where we can have the track bar raised. Unfortunately, it shortens it up. We're gonna have to mark this up to where it can kind of sit on top of the truss and then bring this in, because we still have to maintain the same width of our coil spring. So to keep that, I think it's 38 3/4 of an inch from the outside. We have to, take this bracket here, alter it a little bit to where it'll sit on top of the truss. That way we can have full weldment underneath and on top, making it strong, and then we can alter some pieces on the inside there to where it can attach to there, and then we could potentially do our hydro assist off this bracket as well. It's kind of what I'm shooting for. Like I said, this is an aftermarket track bar bracket built by Motobilt, same company I bought the truss from. But as we did yesterday, we kind of notched out the underneath side there to where it could fit on top of the truss, yet beside the coil spring bracket. So what I want to do today is, I think, just because of where it's going to sit on the Jeep, I want to lower it a little bit. So I think I'm going to take roughly a 1/4 inch off from the bottom side to kind of drop it down a little bit, and then maybe take another 1/4 inch off from the top, since there's a little bit of extra space there, and we can get this tacked in place and see how it's going to work underneath the Jeep. Kind of got things mocked up there, pretty close to where we need them to be. Might go ahead and get this thing tacked in place there, at least that way we can verify. As you saw, got a 1/4 inch off the top, 1/4 inch off the bottom. So overall we gained, not off the bottom, but off the backside bracket there, and over here. So we gained a 1/2 inch roughly of where we need to be. Make sure our bolt goes in there, and I think we'll be okay. I'm gonna go ahead and get the actual bracket tacked up, and then we'll tack it onto the truss itself. Okay, so the next thing that we need to do on this is get the bracket set up for the links. We're going to do a 3-link kit, so we'll need 2 lower links, 1 upper link, and my original plan is to actually build the upper link off of this truss here. And to do that, I just bought a Rockwell link from Barnes. This is one of the, unfortunately, it's only 9/16 holes, so we're going to have to drill that out to 5/8. And same with the lower link brackets. These are also from Barnes with a 10-degree offset. The downside to this is I'm not the smallest guy in the world, and secondly, it just absolutely sucks being underneath a vehicle without having a lift. Another downside of garage work. If you're a DIY person, you understand. We got the upper link bracket done. There's plenty of clearance on the bottom side here for these big Barnes Enduro joints. We're going to be running these on all the links. I haven't decided if we're going to do steel links or aluminum links yet, but we're roughly 5 inches off the side there from where we measured, and then everything kind of floats in a little bit longer. Got it far back to be as close to the lower brackets as they'll sit here, but I think that's going to do it for this episode of working on the Dana 44 front axle for Tinker. If you like what you saw, please like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you on the second part when we finish this axle.